In this video, I'm going to use the laws of logs to write as a single logarithm or a rational number. And my first problem is fairly simple. All I'm doing is using the very first law here, which says that ln a plus ln b is ln a multiplied by b. So we can just multiply the 2 and the 8 together. I'll write this 2 times 8. And the answer will be ln 16. In looking at the second problem, we notice that we've got a 2 in here. So we're going to have to use the law 3, first of all, to sort that out. And of course, 3 squared needs to be resolved first. Now that we've sorted that out, we need to use the next law, which is going to be number 2, where we've got ln a take away ln b. And this gives us a rational number, ln 7 over 9. Well, the first part's already got an ln in it, but the second part of it, minus the 2, doesn't. So what we want to do is change the 2 into an ln. I work through this on the side. So what I want is 2 needs to be ln something. Now, we're mathematicians, so we don't want something. We're going to write this down in a mathematical way. That'll be ln x. So how can I find out what x is actually? Well, we do know that this is to the base e because it's an ln and we don't usually write this there. So I'm going to write the equivalent exponential form, which is going to be x therefore is equal to e to the power of 2. So now that I know what my x is, that it's e to the power of 2, I'm going to rewrite it into that something here, remember? So it's going to work like this. So that means that 2 is equal to really ln e to the power of 2. So now I can replace the 2 with ln e to the 2. So I'll show you what I mean. This now can be replaced in here. Now that I've got ln in both sides, I can use the law of number 2 to change it to one single logarithm. But before I do that, I need to get rid of a half. So I will need to first of all deal with this part and use law number 3 to sort it out. ln 9 to the power to the exponent a half isn't very useful. I will write it as a root and then simplify that so that it's just ln 3 minus ln e squared. Now I can use the second law to finish this off as a single logarithm. And hence we get ln 3 over e squared. Okay, so problem D is not that hard. You were going to use the third law. We're going to move the half above and put it into the power here. Now, we know that that really means that this is a root. So we can write that that's ln 1 over 16 all root. Okay, which should be really very obvious because we know how to use this. 1 over root 16, which is equal to, write it up here, ln 1 over 4. Done. In this problem, I'll use the third law to shift this negative 3 up. So that gives me ln root 2 to the negative 3. As this is not really a rational number, we need to do a little bit of changing. Firstly, it's important to know that usually in mathematics we don't like the negative powers. So we need to change this so that it becomes a positive. And this is preferable to writing ln 1 over 2, 3 on 2. In mathematics, when we usually write, we prefer to have the roots in there. So if we don't want this, what can we do? Not that it's wrong, but usually, let me show you another way. What about if you look at it in this way? What if this is like this, 1, and I'll have root 2, root 2, root 2. Why did I write root 2 3 times? Because we know that it's to the power of 3. Now, if you can actually see that that there are 2 root 2's, which can now be defined simply as 2. Root 2 times root 2 is just 2. So we can rewrite this again, and we can see it as 1 over 2 root 2. And this is the way that we usually like to write these rational numbers down. This is the preferred answer. And in our last problem, I'm going to want to use the second law of logs, the one that says minus. In that case, when I need to fix up the 2 ln root 2 by moving that 2 and using the third law. So my answer now will be ln e squared minus ln root 2, and I need to square that. I hope you realize that root 2 times root 2, or root 2 squared, is actually just plain 2. And this allows us to use that second law where we write ln e squared over 2. In most of these problems, there are other ways of getting around them. For instance, in this last one, I could have used this as a plus, but then I would have made that, indicated that 2 is a minus. So whichever way you do it is going to be correct as long as you use the correct laws. So in this video, I've used the laws of logarithms to write them as a single logarithms or rational numbers for the natural logs. But I want to do another video that will illustrate how we do it for logarithms other than the natural logs. So stay tuned for the next video.